On January 20th, 2025, following his inauguration, President Trump moved swiftly to fulfill one of his central campaign pledges, a major crackdown on illegal immigration. That very evening, he signed a series of executive orders aimed at tightening border security and reshaping how the country handles migration. Among the key actions, he declared a national emergency at the southern border with Mexico, citing ongoing threats from cartels, traffickers, and unvetted crossings. This paved the way for expanded military support and physical barriers. He also moved to block most asylum claims at the border, effectively ending the long-standing catch-and-release practice that allowed many migrants to remain in the U.S. while awaiting hearings. Perhaps most controversially, one executive order sought to limit birthright citizenship, directing federal agencies not to recognize automatic U.S. citizenship for children born here to parents who are not citizens or lawful permanent residents, a move that has sparked immediate legal challenges and remains blocked by court injunctions, as the debate over the 14th Amendment continues. In just 1 year, the United States has spent record sums on immigration enforcement, while border crossings fell to historic lows. Today, we're not debating ideology. We're examining the numbers, how much was spent, what actually changed, and what the economic consequences look like. The most dramatic change came in federal spending. In July 2025, Congress passed the largest immigration enforcement funding package in U.S. history. According to the Congressional Research Service, roughly $191 billion in mandatory funding was authorized for the Department of Homeland Security. This included $64.7 billion for Customs and Border Protection, $74.9 billion for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and $45 billion dedicated specifically to detention capacity. To put this in perspective, this single package exceeded the combined border spending of several previous administrations. The funding covered physical border infrastructure, expanded detention facilities, new surveillance technology, transportation assets, and thousands of new enforcement hires. On the ground, the numbers changed quickly. Independent analysis from the Migration Policy Institute shows that between February and November 2025, U.S. Border Patrol recorded just over 7,000 encounters per month between official ports of entry along the southwest border. During the same months 1 year earlier, monthly encounters averaged nearly 88,000. However, analysts caution that the downward trend had already begun before the new administration took office, and accelerated afterward. Enforcement inside the country also expanded. ICE detention levels rose steadily through late 2025. Independent tracking by the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse shows that most of the increase involved individuals without criminal convictions. When it comes to deportations, the picture is more complex. Official ICE removal totals show a modest increase compared to the previous fiscal year. But analysts note that government statements often combine multiple categories under the word removed, making direct comparisons difficult. For the first time in decades, the total foreign-born population in the United States declined. Census-based analysis shows that more than 1 million immigrants left the U.S. population count in early 2025. The economic effects were immediate. By mid-2025, more than 1.2 million immigrants had exited the U.S. labor force. Industries most affected included agriculture, construction, food processing, and home health care, sectors where immigrant workers make up a significant share of the workforce. Employers in these sectors reported labor shortages, rising wages, delayed projects, and higher consumer prices. The border also saw increased military involvement. Approximately 7,000 U.S. troops were deployed in support roles. Independent estimates place the cost of these operations at roughly $1.3 billion, separate from DHS enforcement spending. What the data clearly shows is a historic reduction in border crossings paired with historic enforcement spending. 1 year in, the numbers reveal a dramatic transformation of U.S. immigration enforcement, not just in outcomes, but in scale and cost. As Congress debates future funding and the economy absorbs labor shifts, the long-term consequences of this approach are only beginning to emerge. We're diving deep into Trump's immigration crackdown 1 year in. Our debaters? Betty defending the pros, Sophia on the cons. First dimension, economic impacts.
Folks, Trump's policies are an economic powerhouse in the making. We're seeing wages climb in blue-collar jobs, up 4 to 6% in sectors like construction since the deportations ramped up. Efficient enforcement that saves taxpayers $13 to $15 billion annually by curbing welfare drains. Deportations of low-skilled migrants open doors for U.S. citizens, boosting productivity without the fiscal burden. Undocumented folks cost $150 billion yearly pre-Trump. Long run? This shifts us to high-skilled visas, fueling innovation like tech booms. Critics whine about shortages, but that's short-sighted. Training programs will fill gaps. This isn't just policy, it's economic patriotism.
We've lost over 1 million foreign workers in 2025, crippling agriculture, 68% reliant on immigrants, and hospitality, with closures spiking 20 to 30%. GDP projections? A 1 to 7% drop by 2028, equating to $130 to $200 billion annual losses. These policies ignore immigrants' $580 billion tax contributions, exacerbating Social Security deficits by $133 billion over a decade. High H-1B fees, $100,000, deter skilled talent, slowing innovation. U.S. patents from immigrants fell 15%. Food prices? Up 5 to 10% from harvest shortages. Low-wage natives suffer indirect job losses minus 2.6 million projected over 4 years.
Strong points on economics. Now, Dimension 2, social and security impacts.
On social and security fronts, Trump's approach is a game changer for American safety. Border encounters plummeted 93% to historic lows, under 8,000 monthly, crushing the chaos of gotaways and fentanyl influxes. Deportations hit 675,000, with 70% targeting criminals, slashing crime in sanctuary cities by 10 to 15% per early reports. This restores trust in law enforcement. ICE's expanded role, backed by military aid, deters cartels and terrorists. Socially, it promotes cohesion. Families feel secure without unchecked migration fueling tensions. This builds a society where rule of law reigns. Trump's vision? A safer, stronger nation where security isn't sacrificed for politics.
Erodes social fabric and true security. Detention surges to 70,000 daily. 41% of arrests now non-criminals, up from 6%. Immigrant populations at 53 million drive cultural vitality. ICE approval dropping to minus 14 points amid protests. Public health suffers. Public charge fears lead 27% of undocumented to avoid aid, worsening outbreaks. This isn't deterrence, it's division, breeding mistrust between locals and feds. Broader impacts. Global backlash harms U.S. soft power, encouraging other nations to restrict asylum. We need humane enforcement, not policies that isolate and harm society long-term.
Compelling arguments. Finally, Dimension 3, long-term benefits.
In the long haul, 20 to 30 years out, Trump's immigration reforms deliver unmatched benefits. By enforcing borders and deporting millions, we secure fiscal health. Reducing undocumented burdens could save trillions in entitlements, stabilizing Social Security as native workers fill gaps with higher wages. Demographically, controlled migration allows assimilation, preserving cultural cohesion and reducing social divides. Permanent deterrents mean fewer crises, safer borders for our kids. It's foundational strength, ensuring prosperity, sovereignty, and opportunity for future generations. Trump's vision: a resilient U.S. where law-abiding citizens inherit a thriving nation.
Long-term, these policies sabotage America's future. Workforce shrinks 5 to 10% by 2050 without immigrants, crippling growth. GDP erosion compounds, 2 to 7% losses over decades, totaling trillions, as innovation stalls. Immigrants drive 25 to 30% of patents. Fiscal strain worsens. Deportations add $884 billion to Social Security deficits over 30 years, depleting funds faster amid fewer contributors. Socially, fear-based enforcement breeds generational mistrust. Global competitiveness suffers. Talent flees to welcoming nations, leaving U.S. tech and agriculture hollowed.
Viewers, please share and subscribe. Thank you.